uncovering the light. Guess with solid minds, no tales of the strange. In Sasquatch Secrets, they'll begin to rearrange. Truth's the vibe, we're on a quest. Look beyond the trees, what do you see? Factual stories redefining history. No myths, no magic, let's break the mold. With every word spoken, the wonders unfold. Footprints in the snow, not just a myth. Data and research was set through the pith. Tales of a creature, but science leads the way. Nikki's quest for knowledge, come join and stand.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Sasquatch Secrets. I'm your host, Nikki Colon. Good to see everybody. We survived another week. I hope everybody's Sunday is going very well, and I hope you guys are staying warm. We have been going through some major sandstorms here in the Southwest. I'm going to show you a little bit of that. I actually posted it on my Facebook page earlier. I was going to do my own videos, but then I didn't want to go out, and when you're driving in that, I was really concentrating on the road. So, but I found one that somebody posted, and I was like, yep, that's the way it was. So I'm going to let you show you all that. But, so tonight we're going to be talking about the tension between the scientific evidence and narrative-driven claims in the Bigfoot community. And I have a couple of guests that are going to help me discuss that. One is having a little bit of issues getting online, but we'll go ahead and bring on.
Wizard, what do you see as you twist its out?
Hey.
Here's Johnathan, Sasquatch Wizard. Adirondacks. Good to see you. How are you?
Very good to see you, Nikki. I'm doing very well. And how are you?
I'm good. You're like a working fool. You're always working.
Yeah, always working.
Yep.
Yeah. Got to get her done.
I know. I've been doing that too, and I'm like, oh man.
You never know when it's not going to be available. I've been through a couple turns in the economy, and I know if it goes bad in the building industry, things get really tough. So,
I bet.
Pack them eggs away when you can.
For sure. I just can't imagine you out there in the cold all the time doing that stuff.
Well, luckily, I do drywall for a living, so I'm inside mostly. Unless I'm transferring equipment from a job to another job. I do got to get out in the cold and work with all that. But for the most part, it's on in the house.
Right. So we're waiting on Pat. Pat's been trying to get on, but he's having some technical difficulties. So we'll pull him into the show when he's able to get in. So let's see everybody. Sharon, good to see you. Henry May, of course. Sandra. And we got Robert and Dubin. And who else? Hell, there is Bill finding the trackway. I'm sure Deb's somewhere coming in. She's out there listening, I'm sure. Octopus with no friends. Good to see you. And everybody's just now starting to filter in. I know we have a lot of lurkers out there. That's good. I don't mind.
Yeah,
I don't mind at all. Yeah. So I'm going to show you this dust storm that we've been going. This is the third one. This is the second. This was the third one because we went through this one. but I am the music that's playing. But just so you can see how bad it got over here, it was
See,
so
that's
crazy.
something. Wow.
Everything. There's a mountain to the right of that picture. You can't see nothing. But it is completely, everything is covered with this dust. Everything outside, the cars, the roads, everything's just been covered with dirt.
Wow.
And
Now, is that derived from a specific storm or just straight line winds in the forecast?
yeah, this week the winds were super, super high, and it just makes that dust, because we have, we're the desert, and it's a fine sand that covers this whole area, and it just kicks it up. It kicks it up, and it circles. It makes it go like in waves,
Okay.
and it overcomes Phoenix. Boobs are here, when you can see the rolling dust coming in. That's what they call them, and you literally are like, get home, we gotta get home.
Yeah, right on. That can't be very healthy for you. I mean, do y'all like put on masks, just not
Usually, yeah. I got caught in it without a mask, but when the second one hit, I had one in the car already, because you breathe that stuff in, and it just sets off. If you have any kind of lung issues, respiratory issues, just forget it, because it sets off your asthma like that. And we had some warmer weather the week before. We were hitting the 80s already, and it set off the blooming of the flowers and the plum trees in the area. So all that stuff is just sets. If you're an allergy person, you do not.
Starting in with it. Yeah.
All that stuff was floating around out there, and it was really crazy.
Yeah, that's really something else. I mean, your vision's impaired for sure. I mean, you're down to what, about a quarter of a mile if you're lucky, by the looks of things.
Yeah, that's a pretty good picture here. It was worse. It was, my daughter and I had left to go to Sam's Club, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a sandstorm coming. You could see, but we were already on our way to Sam's Club. And I said, let's just go. We'll be fast and we'll come home. And by the time we came out, it had already encompassed our area. So we just, back roads, actually. I didn't get on any of the major roads like that. I took the back roads all the way home, which were even worse, but at least I could go slow and just get home. And we brought everything in as fast as we could, and I opened the garage door, and I said, I'm going to open it, bring all the meat I bought, just throw it in the big freezer. Don't even worry about it, and we'll just deal with it later.
Reminds me of the movie Interstellar in the beginning there, where they have the sandstorm, and he's got his kids and I think his old man, and they got to rush into the house because they're having a sandstorm. And,
yeah, I mean, it just the whole coloring outside was like that pink, orangish color. It was surreal, like you were on Mars or something.
That's probably what Mars is. That probably resembles Mars pretty well.
Yeah, it was pretty much.
Let me ask you: do you have to? Do you folks get in and check your air filters in your vehicles after a storm like that on a regular basis, or does it?
With this one this bad, I have thought about going in there and knocking them.
Sure.
I just had oil changes on everything, so they're all brand new.
Yeah.
But it's not a bad idea to take them out and hit them
especially
a bit
before you get moisture, because I mean, once you get all that sand in there and it's dry, that'd be one thing to be able to knock it out of the filter. But and then if it's followed up by a rainy day, hot, humid temperatures, or a thunderstorm, it would.
And the filter inside the car, the one that's like behind the
cabin filter.
Box. Yeah, that one.
Yeah,
I never even knew about that one until recently. So a couple years ago, but I'm like, oh, wow, that's really dirty, you know. So yeah, you have to.
I lose your audio every now and then. It just happened again. It doesn't
Okay,
sound like buffering, but it just fades right out and then comes back
it's
in.
out probably because I'm moving around and not staying right on the mic.
Right on.
Let's see. Could be my internet again. I don't know. The other kid's home too. She's probably on the internet again.
Yeah, that happens.
So
Meals on the internet. And too many people on, not enough bandwidth.
So today's show, I really needed Pat on here because he's the one who got this going. Was to have a show about the narratives, you know, and how they have kind of taken over the Bigfoot community and what all that means. You know, how are we um, comparing scientific proof, you know, with the that narrative that people can make. You know, each person can make up their own Bigfoot. I don't even know how to a realization. They can say whatever they want, and that's fine. And it also makes, you know, and people will believe them. There's a whole side of the community that really don't care, you know, whether Bigfoot is proven because number one, either they've seen them personally, so they don't need that, you know, scientific proof to tell them
Right.
Bigfoot exists,
Right.
or there's a whole nother group that doesn't care because they just like the stories, you
Yeah.
know,
Just in it
and
for fun.
that with the growing number of podcasts dedicated to just putting out stories.
Yeah.
And whether or not these stories are true, they really don't care. You know, it's not it's more of a I think it almost turns into like a fantasy
Yeah.
of how you would do Bigfoot. I think all of us have imagined sometime or other what it's going to be like when we first started to uh, Bigfoot.
Yeah, I think it's going to be like that for quite some time with the amount of new people that are coming in. They get involved. Maybe they're tech savvy and they want to start a podcast, or, you know, they
Yeah,
just first get into the subject and start drinking the Kool-Aid and running with it. And they start getting a lot of attention. And it seems to be, you know, repetitive as I went through it in the very beginning as well, where your
hmm,
mind just gets introduced into the subject and you start using your own knowledge of your own life and applying humanity to this mystery up in the woods, and you start making assumptions that you got a good idea, this is probably what's happening. And once you find bits and pieces that fit your own personal puzzle, some folks can't look at that as, okay, well, there's one option, one possibility, but, you know, I
right,
have no verifiable proof that is the truth. And so, they just think they got it figured out and run with it and start spitting it out like it's actually a fact. And this is just the way it is. And they create that narrative, their own narrative. And a lot of times they're closed minded to other information. As soon as something contradicts their narrative, they aren't interested in that information, but they readily absorb any information that fits their narrative. They create a
right,
show, a video, and they cherry pick information that fits their narrative and create videos and podcasts and run with it.
right, right. No luck, Pat. He was able to get on for an instant and then it just by the time
I
I
think
put them
he's
in.
getting ready for some grand entrance here.
I know. Well, just leave it there. We'll see if he gets out again. I don't know. Here, I'll just do that. And if he pops his head in, I'll bring him back in. So I guess we should probably first talk about what
Excuse me.
constitutes scientific proof of an unknown species. You know, we're critical thinkers. You know, I think of myself as a critical thinker. So I'm on that other side of the fence. So things like DNA analysis and data, hard point data and hair samples and track evidence and analysis of those tracks, stuff like that. That is what I'm looking for to get answers, not just a photo and somebody saying, this is a Bigfoot print,
Right on.
It's more than that. It's, well, how do you know that's a Bigfoot print?
Yeah, and that's where your question starts. First is the question on the subject, and then you need to conduct your experiments. And, along with that, you may be creating a hypothesis, but then you need to go out and observe, collect your material, and then you need to analyze it and then present a conclusion. But it's only a conclusion to your experiment. It doesn't mean that there's no other options. It just simply means that you had a question, you conducted experiments, you gathered all your information and did your observations and presented your conclusion. It's not the end game. Even scientists, don't always, they don't agree with each other. They test each other. And we can do that as a community as well. Even well-respected individuals that put out material that has been scrutinized. It's exciting, when you put something together and you've done a good job, but still then you have to realize and be ready for others to test it, because they need to go out and do their own observations and gather material that is could be repeatable. That's the repeatable portion of this. They're going to go out and do their test and see if they can come up with the same results that you did. And after enough of these tests and observations have produced a very similar conclusion, well, then it would give that hypothesis more weight. There he is.
Busted. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
I hear you.
Tim, can they hear me? Tim. Tim's giving me the thumbs up.
You got the job. Yeah, how are you, everybody? This is Pat Turner from Squatch Talks in the house.
Hey, what's up? I'm sorry, late. I apologize. Something.
No, I could see you trying to get on there, but
a plane crashed into my house. So.
Oh, I hate it when that happens.
What are you gonna do?
Where is the data for that?
Where's the data, right? Yes. True story.
Show me the proof. Anyway, so we started to talk about this whole idea of, the reality versus the narrative. And kind of had to start with, well, you have to start with the science. What are we expecting? What constitute the real science and the data and ability for everybody. And why is physical evidence so crucial, and doing it the right way, so that's kind of where we left off.
It's not a bad start to start with something that's tangible that you can show
Right.
people instead of just a emotional thought process.
Right.
Man,
how there's a whole group of people who don't do that, don't want that. They want the stories. They just want to have the
entertainment.
The idea of what Bigfoot is, and that it exists just on the fact that we say it exists.
Sure, and that's so that is the narrative. So it's all centered around the narrative, and the narrative is, from what I can see, I mean, it's entirely entertainment driven. So that's a big red flag. Is that people love stories, and that's just it. They love stories. They want to hear about encounters. Like that used to be the main thing. That was all it was.
Yeah.
And then StreamYard and YouTube come along, and people discover that, and now all of a sudden it's turned into activity. Whoops, knocks, blah blah blah. And so now that's kind of taken over, because it's a lot easier to talk about activity than it is to make up like a really compelling, encounter story. So to make that up is much more complicated than talking about activity, which is just all this subjectiveness and stuff, rather than this, I saw it with my own two eyes, I'm either lying or I'm not kind of thing, there's no in between. So the narrative is entertainment driven 100%, because you see it. Just look at the successful channels.
Yeah.
What do they do? It's nothing but stories. It's not fact driven. It's not evidence driven. It's usually not vetted very well or at all.
Yeah. It's hard to vet stuff like that,
Right.
We've tried to do that before, and you always end up with dead end. It doesn't really go very far, especially when you're trying to debunk something or prove reality.
Yeah.
It's just, it is what it is.
Sure. And most of the hosts, they don't care to vent. They know one way or another. They know what they're doing. They know they're pushing, like, well, this is a great story, or this is a great panel of people that will talk about Bigfoot, this, that, and the other, and they'll just push it out there. It's like a lot of hosts are kind of out of touch with reality themselves, because now they find themselves on YouTube at some level of being an entertainer, and maybe they're not used to that. Maybe this is new thing for them. They don't know what an audience is like. Most people don't. It just so happens that I do.
Attention. Yeah.
It just so happens that I do. I know exactly what an audience is like. I've had an audience my whole life in some kind of way, and so it's nothing new to me to have an audience. And so I'm not, I that's not what drives me in that way with Bigfoot. I've always been interested in truth. So we get down to, so that's the narrative, entertainment driven, and then you have reality, which contradicts the living shit out of narrative. And those two things just don't shake hands. And I've discovered, well, do you want to live in reality, or do you want to live in fantasy narrative driven world? Because it's more fun. Just like watching a good movie. Like, dude, Deadpool is a fun ass movie to watch, at least for me. But it's not real. It's not real.
Right.
You could go to a convention and see like guys running around in really good at Deadpool outfits, but it's still not real. And so that's the narrative, that's the entertainment. It doesn't match reality in any kind of way, because the things that people should be talking about should be reality driven, and they really only touch on it or half-ass it, and where the truth is so much stronger. It's like, if there's an undiscovered primate roaming around North America, and like, people know where they're at, they have hot spots, they have research areas, they come around camp. So this is knowledge that you kind of know where Bigfoot's at. they'd be pretty easy to find. That's the reality. Pretty easy to find and worth millions and millions of dollars.
Right.
Mhm.
And then, but they can't show us. They can only say it. They can only say that I have an area, I see them every weekend, or I have an experience with them every time I go out. And
Mhm.
it's just this verbiage that's coming through, but no solid evidence. It's completely, we're looking for that science that represents the evidence-based approach, that the whole world can understand, not just us, but the world outside of Bigfoot people.
It's more than that. It's discovery. I mean, that's what it is.
It
It's
would be a
absolute
major
discovery.
discovery. It would
Yeah,
for the whole.
you don't need a better track, or you don't need to be just a Bigfooter looking for hair. You don't know if it's black bear or Bigfoot or what. Like, no, discovery is in the palm of your hand if you know where Bigfoot is. And a lot of people in the narrative is like driven by this. Well, I know where
Mm.
Bigfoot is. I mean, I've had people swear up and down. If you would just bring a drone, I'm telling you would see him. Like, I'm like, not unless you pay for it. Like, I'm not. I don't believe you. And dude, I want to be a millionaire. If I thought that were true, I would come out there with my own equity and become a millionaire by filming one. So obviously, I personally don't believe that's true. You believe it to death. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to come out there and just waste me and my pilot's time. And my pilot's going to want to get paid no matter what. And
Yeah,
Time to pay the piper.
for real.
I
so
wonder, Pat, so the individuals that you're speaking of as a whole, as the Bigfoot community as a body, the entry level people, maybe they've been into it for a year or 2 years and they're really excited, and maybe approach somebody like yourself or doing videos saying, hey, listen, I have them out here. I've been recording them on audio. I've seen their tracks. I caught a glimpse of one. I have photos of them. They're right here. If you just come out with your drone, we'll have them. Well, are they still at the level where they're not able to identify a double bear step from an actual Bigfoot track? Are they still thinking that some of the owl calls are, chimpanzees out there having a wrestling match or a verbal confrontation, but it's just a barred owl? Are they misidentifying multiple facets of this? And then maybe as they get into it another 2-3 more years, they start to drift off out of the limelight because they finally realized and learned, okay, man, that was a barred owl. That was not a track. This ain't Bigfoot. They finally realized that. Are we only dealing, I say we, are we dealing with the entry level first 2 or 3 year folks that are just being fantastical about the situation?
Yeah, there's so basically the narrative, in my opinion, from what I know to be true, actually, is it's full of liars and like people fooling themselves, delusional, very delusional, desperate thinking, because they gobble up all this content and they want to try and experience it. And so they'd be much quicker because you can't just walk up to a Bigfoot and fist bump it. You know what I mean? And yeah, you can't do that, right? So they're always out here somewhere, right? And even if they're right out
It's a
here,
science,
it'd be
it's
easy.
it's
It's discovery.
unverified things.
Yeah, it's this.
And
Even if they're right out
there's-
here, discovery is easy at that point. This discovery is not hard. That's reality. Here's where reality does not shake hands with the narrative. Discovery would be easy if they're just 100 feet off your camp or whatever.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, there's variables of like people fooling themselves or
Yeah.
delusional thinking, and there's crazy people, and there's liars. There's people that just want attention, and they'll
Yeah.
lie, they'll make up anything. I
A
mean,
lot of personalities.
how hard is it to say I went camping the other night and I heard whoops and knocks? That's not hard to say. It's easy
Right.
to say. You know, I could convince
Mhm.
the two of you right now that happened to me last night if I wanted to. I could convince you guys, you know. It's not hard to do. So,
Right. Yeah.
Um,
It's still going to
So-
take multiple. I'm sorry, Nikki. Go ahead.
go ahead with your thought.
It's
ahead.
still going to take. So, like, if somebody did say that they, I can bring you to the Sasquatch. Bring your drone. You bring the drone out, and you drop down there, and you get the money shot. There's 3 of them right out in a wide open field. There's no mistaking what is it a 4K picture or thermal, either or. There it is, full 30 seconds of it.
it would be 30 minutes of it. Like,
So even 30 minutes of
yeah,
it, is that going to do it for science?
Absolutely.
For scientific academia, that would do it. They're not
That
going to
is
also need
that would be a huge catalyst to get the ball rolling.
get the ball rolling, but it won't.
Science would get interested real fast.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So, given that scenario, we have geolocation. Send in the professionals so we can take it a step further. Boom, here's where they are. We know exactly to the foot, to the inch of exactly where they were.
Then go get them.
No, at that point, all you have to do is send in a proper team of scientific professionals who at this point are going to be
That's
interested
what I meant.
because they just saw a fucking video of a Bigfoot and they're not going to question that. I'm sorry. And so they can go in and collect all the biological evidence left behind. 100%. And so now we have biological evidence to match what's on the video, and that's it. That's game over.
That's what I was getting at. That
That's
we would still
absolute
need
discovery.
the biological evidence to tie with the video.
I mean, ideally, but the video,
Yeah.
that's why I say, like, the video would get their attention in a way that you wouldn't have to pay them to go out there and look.
Right.
They're going to be interested themselves.
Yeah, just
And
like
so
the
again,
Patty, just like the
reality.
Patty film. I mean, that brought the scientists to the
Some.
to the table.
Hmm. Yeah. For a minute, right? And but this would be like literally 1,000 times more powerful than that with today's technology. Are you kidding me? You know, so we can collect biological evidence of any creature on this planet, any creature, big, small, whatever. Like, there are professionals that study fucking worms. Okay, right?
Yeah.
So
They've got
yeah.
really good people with really
Yeah.
good equipment and really good training. I
Yeah.
don't disagree with you there
So-
at all. It would be nice to see them get onto
So-
one.
So even if people want to say, AI, whatever, the video won't be good enough, even though it will be in 4K and there's metadata and there's half an hour of being able to study the subject for way more than the PG film and depthly. Well, it's all geolocated. So,
Right.
okay, fine. You don't believe the video? Send in the professionals to collect the evidence.
I think it would matter who it came from too, and there would be a lot more would play into it. Like if somebody like yourself being, looking for the truth, being very skeptical, was to grab that information and hand
Sure.
that to science, is going to be a lot better than I'm not going to name anybody, but another
I have
two yahoos that go out there and say,
I'm
hey,
not-
we just got the money shot. Here it is.
I'm not known in the Bigfoot world for being even a liar, much less a hoaxer.
Right.
So,
Would science chase any another person, 2 guys that nobody knows that just got into Bigfoot, got lucky?
you really have to bring something to the table.
Right
Like
on.
you would to get science interested. You either bring money to the table because anybody could go out and hire scientific professionals to go do biological studies and try and collect evidence.
Right.
So anybody can do that right now, and I mean it costs thousands of dollars, but they
Yeah.
would do it. So
Been done in the past.
this idea that science doesn't want to have anything to do with the Bigfoot world, well, money changes that. So,
Yeah.
of course, anybody could hire professionals to go try and collect biological evidence, which would be a gold mine if you actually know where Bigfoot is. Gold
Right on.
mine. gold mine of biological evidence.
And even then,
Yep.
situations can get out of hand. Consider Dr. Melba Ketchum and that whole, group.
But that's different. That's Bigfooters. That's all compartmentalized. That's, hey, Bigfooters, send us what you think might
Somebody,
be. Yeah, I'm talking about
yeah.
professionals, people that aren't into Bigfoot at all.
Well, she's
Yep.
considered a professional, even though she's just a veterinarian.
Yeah,
She's
again, false narrative. Again, false narrative, right?
So what is the good science and what is the bad science? You've got bad science is just a flawed version of the good.
I mean, the good science is the proper professionals who are objective that go out and collect the biological evidence that would totally be left behind by a upright walking, undiscovered 800 fucking pound, upright walking primate. Like,
right.
It's, you can't hide that, so they would be able to collect it. So that's the good science is just simply the real science, the truth, I mean, so I mean, this is kind of like no-brainer stuff. It's accurate, it's inarguable. Again, there's a professional there's a biological professional for every living creature on this planet. So why not Bigfoot? It can be done.
Yeah, I think I remember watching a video one time of this this
wherever people say
biologist
Bigfoot is. Yes. Sorry.
And yeah, no problem. And how they got their jobs. And one of the spots was he had explained it like it was at one of the colleges, there was a board of some sort. There was a location where they could go pick and choose jobs that were available. So there was individuals around the world that were looking for a biologist to study, say, goats. And then this one was looking for a biologist to do turtles. And biologists have their preferences. Some of them like to study reptiles, but if the only job available is to go study goats, well, there was a college. It's in the United States. I just can't remember how they explained it, but his conversation was, I looked at the board to see what jobs were available, and I got lucky and found this specific job because he actually, liked to study whatever it was that he was studying.
Yeah. So there's probably 10,000 people that study bats in the whole world. in a uber professional way. That's my point, is that
you got to be the best of the best in order to get hired for the best jobs too. And that's why you got to try to do such a good, thorough job. And as you start to move up the ladder and have success in your career, they're not just going to pick any biologist, or a primatologist to go out and be part of the team that seeks the thermal video that you capture per se.
Like, again, anybody. So let's break it down to some of the claims. Like, well, Bigfoot's just a few miles down the road for me. There's a hot spot, or there's even a research area, which is never defined in scope or size, but whatever. Especially the Bigfoots on my property. Like, so all those people are just obviously completely full of crap, because if it was that readily available, again, why do you not want to be a multimillionaire overnight, by just discovering this thing?
Don't we have one of those currently going on right now? What's his I don't know his actual name, or it doesn't come to me, but
there's a
Flat Rock. I think Bud and Angie have been down there.
There's 100 people that claim that Bigfoot's on their property. So yeah, I don't know.
Right on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them are obviously batshit crazy, but yeah. So when you have this idea of these people, again, the narrative, I know where Bigfoot is. Well, then I'm going to show you a Bigfoot. If you know where Bigfoot is, I'm going to show you one. Like, all you have to do is just pay some professionals to go in there and collect biological evidence, of which there be tons Tons.
There should be. Yeah.
Yes.
There
Unless
should be.
okay, the one caveat unless there's some kind of magical being, right? Okay, so there, I said it. You know, that's the only caveat. So if they're undiscovered primate, like some people would staunchly argue they must be or have to be or whatever, then they're just, if you know where they are, then they are discoverable. It's actually not that hard. But
Yeah.
that never comes together in the Bigfoot world. Nobody ever talks about like, it kind of wouldn't be that hard actually. You know, it's
So why is
2025.
that?
Yeah.
Why does that happen?
Yeah, that's my question is
Because
why?
the narrative is false. That's why. It's false.
Well, for example, on Facebook, there was a conversation about Bigfoots and how tall do you feel Bigfoot can get? Okay. And there were several people who were saying that they believed somebody had seen a 20-foot Bigfoot. And I was like,
Wow.
my comment was, whoa, that would be a pretty big poop. You know, how can we not find 20-foot Bigfoots out there and not find their feces all over the place? Because there would be mounds of that around. So it doesn't make sense, but people don't think all that through. You know, there's no 30-foot, 35-foot.
What's more than that? It's more than that. Like, you don't even have to go to the poop size. It's like a Tyrannosaurus Rex was 20 feet tall and bipedal. And that's what a 20-foot tall bipedal animal looks like. It doesn't look like a primate. It looks like a T-Rex. And you know why? Gravity. So,
plus, a 20-foot animal is going to leave a hell of a footprint if it's on the face of the earth.
Yeah.
I mean, it would make it much easier to find something that's 20 feet tall and carries itself through the forests of North America or around the world than it would be for something that's 6 or 7 feet tall.
It just doesn't matter because physics simply won't allow it. A humanoid bipedal form can't be 20 feet tall. It wouldn't be able to stand up, like much less survive. It just wouldn't be able to stand up.
Right.
At all.
Look at human beings. The tallest 9 feet?
Wadlow. Robert Wadlow.
There's even another one, a Chinese guy who was
wow.
there. They can't walk. They can barely sustain any type of forward movement because their body can't handle it. The bones can't handle that weight because we're not made to be that tall.
Robert Wadlow died at the ripe age of 21 because
I was going to say they don't live very long, and that's giantism.
The out of control thyroid and all that, and he very much struggled to walk. You know, the last few years of his life, several years of his life. You can't, and that's 9 feet tall, you know, like, so that's about in the, what people say Bigfoot is like as a norm, 8 feet tall. And maybe that's possible, but no, 20 foot tall is just simply absurd. Physics won't allow it. So there would have to be something else going on that like we don't understand. Again,
I think there's a lot of that. And I think a lot of that will come to fruition if we do get a body. And the scientists do their job. I think we'll get a lot of, we will get a lot of the answers that we've been looking for as far as the anatomy.
Well, I mean,
we know what their bones are made out of. If they're,
if they're from
thicker, like elephant,
their organs even the same. I mean, we just anthropomorphize on them. I mean, they could have 2 hearts. I mean, who the hell knows if their lungs aren't down where our kidneys are or something? I mean,
yeah, but that's, I mean, if they're of planet Earth, and they certainly do match the description of a primate from, let's say just the outside, looking from the outside, they definitely match. And so, no, if they're of this Earth, it ain't no 2 hearts or lungs in weird places. They would have to be fit into that box. Otherwise, if they're from Planet Hairtron or something, like, so that's where the weird difference would be. It's like they would have to be otherworldly or beyond our understanding, but not beyond our understanding of planet Earth.
Well, I mean, like
Not at all.
cows have 2 stomachs. I mean, we know nothing about this species. It's not even classified yet. So, I mean, we can't say that they don't have, 2 stomachs or what type of intestines they have, or I mean,
is make assumptions, right? Is
Yeah.
speculate. Come from the line of Homo. Somehow they took some turn, and off of whatever Homo naledi, Homo erectus, something where they took a turn down their own path, and they grew. They became hairy. They still follow our line of forward-facing bipedal, motioned primate, but we don't know where that is and where that took place or how that took place. But it's a possibility because we, have a few skulls here and there throughout this timeline. But
I'm just gonna say if they have 2 hearts, they're from Planet Hairtron. They're not of planet Earth.
Yeah, I'm just
Like,
throwing
that's-
shit out there. I'm
That's
not
just
making
kind of
a
it's
claim.
kind of
a bigger
ridiculous.
animal would need more heart to pump all that blood up and down the body.
Maybe they have
So-
8 chambers, 1 heart and 8 chambers or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
Who knows?
possibly.
Yeah. I mean,
but-
I ain't laying claims to it or
But I
anything
mean,
like
yeah,
that.
I mean, to even go down that road is just kind of like, I'm like,
Right.
whatever. Again, they're supposed to be these things that walk on 2 feet. Like, if let's just say Patty's real, she does look like a relic hominid, like, so, we know what those are. we know exactly what those are, and it doesn't have anything to do with,
Right.
body parts being in weird places we didn't expect.
Why do you
internal-
think some people reject the need for physical evidence?
because they want to believe.
Yeah,
Believing's
that's
more
about
fun.
it. Yeah,
Believing's more fun. Like,
they just
again,
don't care.
yeah,
They don't want to be part of that. They don't need to be serious. They much more enjoy, the fantasy of
exactly.
just the fantasy.
I call it. Let's go out in the woods and pretend Bigfoot. Like, it's sort of it requires a child's like imagination. That's more fun. Like, that's fun to them. Whatever.
I mean, I like to do drywall. I'm passionate about it. I mean, I really enjoy it. Other people just look at me like, why would you like to do that?
I'm looking at you like that right now because I've done drywall and it kind of sucks. But yeah,
right on. So
you do you, boo. You do you.
Right on. Keeps me busy.
Yeah.
So, but for us, our mind has no particular defense against misinformation, because why do people see so much pareidolia? Why? And then there's audio pareidolia too. You can hear things and your mind will make you believe it's something else. Many people do these claims over and over, and it's immediately that's their truth, and that's what they base their belief in, is that, it makes sense, that they had some kind of experience, they can't explain it, so they're making themselves, believe that it has to be.
Especially if you're out there with Bigfoot on the brain. Like, that's so as Leon
And
would
we
say,
say that,
you're
but
prime.
it's true.
Yeah.
You can go out there and totally destroy your objectivity by always thinking Bigfoot first.
Sure.
Oh yeah, it's a mind killer. And And I mean, I've experienced that like a little bit because I mean, it's not, I'm in the Bigfoot world, so it's not like I don't think about Bigfoot when I'm out in the woods. If I hear something weird, maybe I'm like, what is that? It's not that I jump to Bigfoot. I'm like, well, what was that? Like I
Right.
mean, so if it's easy, if I'm like questioning myself sometimes, like people that are like primed and ready fist bump with Bigfoot, man, the
Yeah.
first part out that comes along, that's it. That was
Yeah.
a Bigfoot.
And that
Yeah.
leads right
know.
into the fact that, I mean, their lack of knowledge of, the wildlife and the sounds that the wild make, animals, and,
Bro,
birds.
I mean, I know barred owls make the noises they make, and
Right.
I still could have swore I was surrounded by chimpanzees one night.
Yeah.
Even though I knew they were barred owls. I'm
No.
like, I'm sitting there listening to that going, like, that's exactly what it sounds like. It sounds like there's a bunch of monkeys, like,
Sure.
all around me. And it was that powerful. Now, of course, I knew it was barred owls, but I totally get how, like, even somebody who knows but wants to fool themselves, next week they're on a show talking about how, they were getting like whooped at or chattered or whatever,
Right.
but
Right.
That's the
it
beauty of
happens all the time.
that's the beauty of putting that sound into a visual representation and being able to see the sound signatures and compare the hertz levels, and that can start to rule out owls compared to an animal that has
Well,
a lot more uh, a lot more stronger, a better cadence.
sound is so funny in the woods because it gets broken up, and distance is a huge factor. So things sound differently at 150 yards than they do at 50
Sure.
feet. Even coyotes sound different, and they're loud. So we're talking like pretty high decibel noise. 150 yards still sounds a lot different. I'd say like cut that in half, 75 yards. Those are two completely different vocalizations that you're hearing between 75 yards and 150 yards.
Right.
Um,
Well, they get them owls mixed up, and a lot of times I hear them saying, or when I say, speaking as the Bigfoot community is in general, in the newer people coming along, and they hear an owl, and sometimes they say, "There's no way that could have been a barred owl. I know what a barred owl sounds like," and
right.
that was like
Mhm.
that had to have been a 500-pound barred owl. A lot of things come into play of what would make somebody think that they heard something that came from a
You can't.
500-pound creature, but it
Yeah,
you
it's
listed off some of it. Your environment plays a big factor in there.
yeah, big time. Do you have a campfire going that makes a noise? Do you have is the wind blowing?
Sound could be coming down through a
Um,
valley of rock ledges and
are you near
amplify
a
that
creek?
sound.
Are you near a creek? Like so, like all those factors.
But
Sounds
when you
funny
put
in the
that
woods.
on a
Yeah,
spectrograph, you can see the amplitude, the power in that call. I mean, because when you have, if there is a Bigfoot in the area and lays out a vocal, and even if it is similar to a barred owl, if they do mimic animals, you should be able to tell the difference by looking at the visual representation of that sound on a spectrograph versus coming out of a
yeah,
little
yeah,
tiny 8-pound owl. There's going to be a big difference in power.
yeah. Sure, but again, if the owl is 40 feet away, and the Bigfoot is 150 yards away, like it's just sound. Like so, you know, like it's not
Mm-mm,
about power. It's about how far away is the sound.
mm-mm.
Yeah.
No, that's I would have to disagree with that to an extent. So on the spectrograph, what that 500-pound mammal's sound being similar to the barred owl is going to look like against the barred owl that makes a similar call within a short distance from the mic is going to be a much more powerful sound signature. Boy, how do I explain this? The barred owl is going to come in at a certain hertz level, and it's going to fluctuate within that range. And then the similar call coming from something that has a lot of power behind it
I don't see
is
how
going to be a
spectrograph
bigger.
can determine range. I mean, what you're telling me is a spectrograph can determine range, and I don't find that to be true at all.
Not
Yes.
so much determine range, but you do get used to looking at the sound signatures of, say, repetitive animals. A barred owl makes a call and it's way off in the distance, and
Well,
then I
That'd
have
be
to,
reverb. Yeah.
I have to clean up the sound in order to even hear it, and it's a very faint sound signature on the spectrograph, but the signature is going to be very similar. It's not going to be have a very powerful amp, Jesus,
I guess.
can't think
Well,
of words to say.
I guess what I'm trying to say is this. I'll simplify it a little bit. I apologize. So if I take an actual recording of a barred owl at 30 feet on the microphone, and then I take that exact same recording and I play it through a loud ass speaker that's 50 yards away, I can make those two things sound near identical in amplitude. So you wouldn't be able to tell the difference, except for it might get muddy. It might, like the further away thing, the speaker might get muddied. Depends on how many trees there are. But yeah, so that's all I'm saying is that, a spectrogram can't determine distance.
No, but all we need to know is that
And
a
why,
Bigfoot
anyway.
That, yes, it can, Pat. Yes, it can. Because that's yes, it can. Because
How?
I see it all the time. When I review audio, if an owl call is a long ways away, or a coyote call, or any animal calls a long ways away, it shows up very faint on the spectrograph.
Sure,
The
but you could tell
closer
that.
it is,
You could tell that with your
the
ear.
color, the darker the
You don't need a
signature is.
spectrogram for that. You could tell that with your ear. You don't need a spectrogram.
Yeah, but you were just telling me that a spectrogram can't
Show distance with a
show
powerful spike.
distance. It can.
Yeah, I know, but like no better than your ear, really. So,
I
what's the
we'll have
point?
to agree to disagree on that one.
Like, why do we have to visualize something that we already know that we can hear ourselves? There's no reason to like get fancy with the what's easy.
It's just in my nature to be technical. That's all. I wish I could explain myself a little bit better, but
that's fine. I mean, like, to be honest with you, the audio and a spectrogram, none of that means anything to me because people have been doing that for years and years and years, and it's led to nothing. So,
but leading back to what we were talking about, as far as an individual getting all fantastical and putting stuff on YouTube saying this is a Sasquatch,
right.
If that person had the right tools and learned how to operate a spectrogram, or knew somebody who did and gave them that call, they would just tell them that's not coming from a 500-pound animal. That's an owl coming from a little tiny animal.
So in reverse, yeah, I agree. Actually, in reverse, like it's a great tool for debunking, I guess. Saying.
Right on.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And I had somebody, it's a guy, Chris, I can't remember his last name.
Chris Spencer.
It's not, is it Chris Spencer?
Part of the Olympic project, very fluent in
maybe like audio guy.
Yep, audio guy, maybe. Chris Spencer.
I think maybe it is him.
That's one of them.
Because I years ago I found this thing, greatest Bigfoot audio ever, and it was really freaky sounding, and it really was. And I mean, I kind of bought it. yeah, I bought into it. It's out in California. This couple broke down on the side of the road, and they were. It's not a hoax. They're legitimately like filming these sounds. They're running a camera and is picking up these sounds, and it was scary as hell. Anyway, I said, dude, look into that. And he came back at me. He's like, yeah, man, those are basset hounds. I was like, really? Like, you're
Right.
kidding me? Like, I would have
Chris-
never thought that. It sounded like a monster
Right.
running around in the woods. And it was basset hounds.
And
Like,
that's because he
Yeah.
is ran audio through the spectrograph and visually
well, you're right. He
observed
was doing
so many different animals,
ERB. Okay.
and he's really good at being able to tell the difference between owls, coyotes, and different types of waterfowl against larger animals like elks and moose. Even if like a moose makes a subtle call, there's a certain cadence to that, and yeah, he's grown to be a well-rounded audio analysis individual.
Yeah, a lot of people.
And he'll be the first one to tell you he's not a professional, but he has a lot of experience on it. And yeah.
Right. So, but all that's part of the data, using all these different methods for hearing, detecting, keeping records on spectrographs, all of that's all part of the data. One individual thing may not prove Bigfoot. It may not mean a lot, that one piece, but put together, all together with prints and all the rest of the evidence, that's what we're hoping to, use as the backup for us saying that Bigfoot exists. Whereas
the people that are pushing the narrative would be better served if they learn those tools.
I don't think
it hasn't proven yet.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think like this kind of Bigfooters who want to be out there and try and contribute, something. If you want to contribute something meaningful, like put a bunch of 12 gauge holes in them. I mean, as best I can say. Like if you walk up on one, just put it down. Like other than that, like all this, trail cams and let's find prints and like none of that's working. And again, I think the reason why none of that's working is because most of that's not actually true. And
you lost me there. What do you mean? Because I thought I knew what you were going to say, but
well, I don't,
because they don't know how to use the equipment properly.
No, I don't think they're actually finding the prints they think they're finding. I don't think there's anything actually interesting going on out there.
That could be very.
Well,
likely,
I mean, well, like again, so like this is the part we haven't even touched on. For there to be an undiscovered primate in North America, upright walking, which by the way, you have to remember, this would be the most amazing biological discovery in human history.
I agree.
Absolutely. And so that's a huge weight to carry around. For that to be true, for that to be a thing, they would have to be. That's the most important part. They would have to be rare and elusive. So that means you can't just walk right up to one. You can't just go find where they live. They're not just going to come to your camp. For a truly, they would have to be rare and elusive is a complete contradiction to the narrative. So that's really where the rubber meets the road with reality versus narrative, is that they would have to be rare and elusive. Yeah. So we're either talking about Planet Hairtron shit here, or they ain't there, or Bigfooters are never around them. Never. Ever. And they would actually really be hard to find. You'd have to go deep, deep, deep into parts of Canada and maybe parts of the U.S., and maybe the Appalachians. You'd have to go so deep to where people really aren't and really haven't been,
Well, I
that's
think it's
where they would be.
individuals' personality lets the narrative run away, because if you take certain individuals that take the same sounds and trace evidence and track cast, and they take that information in and process it and test it, but they don't come out and say this is Bigfoot. They come out and say, here's the information that I have, let's scrutinize it. It's a possibility, but it's not for sure. And then you have the narrative people that are running with it. And that's their own personality, their thought process, and their decision to spit out and blurt out the word saying, I just heard a Bigfoot last night and I got it on audio. Check this out. And then a whole other bunch of people join in and be like, wow, dude, that's awesome, man. Congratulations. That's wow. And then it spreads like a virus. And they all think that that is actually something, where that same person could put out an audio, just the same audio, and just simply say, I'm not sure exactly what this is, but I'm searching for answers. Does anybody got an idea? Help me out here. But this is interesting. I haven't figured out what it is yet. That's not really putting out the narrative that, I
not
just
a lot of that. Yeah,
encountering Bigfoot last night.
There's not a lot of that. So the people who don't use the word Bigfoot, a lot of times they're very clever in how they present it, which is sort of like this. It's sort of I'm not saying it was Bigfoot, but ... And then they go on to say how it was Bigfoot without ever saying the word Bigfoot. And the audience goes, yeah, it was Bigfoot. You see chat light up. Yeah, oh, definitely a Bigfoot. Oh, my God, well, it's Bigfoot all over the place.
I can't wait to say that. I'm going to say that.
There's Bigfoot in my backyard right now. Oh my God, that's so crazy.
If you're in this subject, I mean, you can't just leave Bigfoot out of it. At some point, I mean, you have to admit that you're out there trying to discover this thing, and you're presenting this information. And
I don't think anybody is. I don't think that walking through
it's not necessarily a narrative. You're not pushing a narrative.
Yeah. I don't think that walking through the woods with Bigfoot on the brain, or going and camping with Bigfoot on the brain, I don't think that's an attempt to discover at all. That's an attempt to connect, to have a connection, and get a encounter or activity. It's very
That's
hopeful.
a good way of putting it, actually. I have to say
that
you're trying to put yourself into a situation where you might run into one, because I have come to that with watching everybody out there who does go out on a weekend basis or whatever, that I think they're going to try to find you. They'll come in to see you, but I don't think we can go out and find them.
Yeah. But even that, I don't buy into that. They're going to come to you again from where? To me, it's like, oh shit, you just conjured one up. That's what you did. So they're definitely magical beings.
Sightings. Okay. So you can't totally just axe the thousands and thousands of sightings that have happened. Not all of them are made up wish
right.
wash.
So let's take some of that. Like, so when you take the sightings that you might, let's say some of the most credible ones are exclusively those people were not Bigfooters.
Yeah.
It just happened to them. So they weren't looking for it. So they didn't go. Yeah, they weren't out there with Bigfoot. Like even what happened to Jeff, right? Jeff wasn't looking for fucking Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
So if you believe Jeff's story, Bigfoot wasn't a part of his life at all. And then bam, So all that does is play into the numbers of a rare and elusive creature versus the 80 million people that go out in the woods every year. Yeah. And those are Powerball numbers. Somebody's gonna fucking win, right? But when you take the 300 researchers, you can't pick 300 people to win the Powerball. It's like, good luck.
I see where you're going with this. What you're saying, Pat, what seems to be bothering you is that the 300 researchers that go out come back with too much maybes. Look what I got. I think this might be Bigfoot.
Yeah.
That bothers you.
Yeah, though it doesn't bother me. I never said it bothered me. I don't. I see it for what it is. It simply can't be true. in reality doesn't match that.
But when they're
Reality
saying
says
that
no
it's
way,
not,
Jose.
they're not saying, not all of them are saying it's true. Actually, over the period of the last couple, 2-3 years, I've seen a real good rotation to, and you, well, you actually put it out there and said, yeah, they're getting real good at it because they're saying, I'm not saying this is Bigfoot, but you
Yeah.
see it like that, where
That's what they're doing,
not
though.
all the time, you know.
Not all the time. Look, again, I'm
Not
not
all the
speaking for
time.
every single
Yeah.
person that talks about this stuff.
Everybody's getting a lot better at
These are
learning how to
generalities.
scrutinize
These are
the
generalities I'm throwing out
information.
there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's a lot of it. It's, I mean, if I had the time, I'd put together a compilation of like just, like, and it's the same thing, This channel, that channel, this channel, that channel. I could
Right.
probably, I could randomly dial it up right now. That's the sad thing, right? But yeah, so it's a general thing. That's why I try and focus on the narrative rather than just calling everybody and their mother out and like screw
Right on.
that. Like I don't need those emails coming to my inbox. So I just stick to the narrative versus reality, and the two do not shake hands. They're very polarized. And I'm sorry, but I live in reality.
Yeah.
If you drive your car off a cliff, probably gonna die.
Yeah,
That's reality.
Good chance.
It's like good chance.
Depends how big the cliff is, though.
Yeah.
Sure. In the Bigfoot community, we really don't serve ourselves well because if we want to go to the Bigfoot media, okay, if you want to call them that, they have a whole agenda of their own, right? TV shows and social media influences, they
absolutely,
they have an agenda,
This discussion does not belong there.
Yeah, they would
never allow it.
Really successful channel, successful show, and that is based off of clicks and views, and to further the show the next year or to continue to broadcast whatever they want to do. But they have to cater to the entertainment side of this, and
that's what they're doing.
Dude, I don't think
to separate the entertainment from the facts.
I do not think that like Cliff and Bobo would ever have me on their show. I don't think I don't think that they would ever be willing to have this kind of a hardcore discussion on their show. Maybe I could be wrong. At this point, dude, I'm not sure that like I could like ever do another episode of Odyssey ever again, because I'm not sure Brian like wants to like have me discussing this kind of shit, to his, I don't know. Like, you're right. There's this cutoff point where it's like, I'm the guy killing the music at the party, and we don't want you here at the party because you're gonna kill the music, man. Like,
but it's okay though. You have to be here, Pat, because it's guys like you and Nikki.
Man, I got one foot out the door, bro.
In check. But it sure the hell ain't going to be YouTube in this Bigfoot community where a group, say, for instance, a tight-knit group that's very serious and wants to do everything the right way. It isn't going to happen here in YouTube in the Bigfoot community. It's not. So it's like, I mean, if you want to go to the bar and you expect everybody to just shut up and sit down and be quiet while you sit there. No, they're listening to music, drinking beers, dancing, raising hell, having a good time. If you didn't want that to happen, then you shouldn't have gone in the bar. If you come into the Bigfoot community, it's a hodgepodge from level 1 to level 10 of narratives. And it's going to be here all the time. I don't think it's ever going to go away. So I don't think there's any like magic red pill that we're going to be able to feed the Bigfoot community to get everybody to come to attention and start doing it right.
I don't even
care.
care.
It's going to be a mosh podge.
I don't
mix of newbies.
Take
red pill or the blue pill.
Yeah. So to be honest with you, I don't even care. I'm just kind of shaking trees on my way out. Like that's
Sure.
all I'm doing. And I mean, just
Give
try.
her hell.
I'm legitimately trying to at least bring up, interject some truth and reality, math into the situation that again that no one ever talks about. It's not a part of the narrative. No one ever touches on any of those things. It's always just about what the narrative says, what's narrative driven, and the truth's hard.
Yeah, it is.
Finding these things, if they're even out there, like it would be really, really fucking hard work. I think. I wish that one of these guys was true. That he did have this, I don't know, 4 square mile, 10 square mile area that I could easily search in a night and find him. Like I
Right.
wish that were
Yeah.
true. Because again, dude, I'd be a multimillionaire like overnight, basically.
Get the money shot.
Yeah, I mean, are you kidding me? Yeah, like forget all the science bullshit. Just throw that into work with a production company the next day, and
Right.
I'm fucking off to the races, dude.
And
Yeah,
then
right
all of a
on.
sudden you become the media.
Right on. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, the
I'm
media
sure that would
should.
probably come
The
with
media,
it.
the media should. Media is going to be a part of discovery. So if discovery
Yeah.
happens, the media is going to be a part of it. There's no way around that. But at least it's like it's all encompassing media. It's not Bigfoot media.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
real.
that would be everybody.
Yeah.
A real production company.
The rest
So
of the
Jeff
world
says
tunes
the
in.
entertainment individuals have established themselves so tightly ranked that the file that you couldn't see anything real that exists past them. Tightly rank and file. Sorry, I read that wrong. Themselves so tightly rank and file that you couldn't see anything real that exists past them.
Right. And so at that point, Bigfoot's not in the picture anymore. And that's the other point, is that the narrative now has become so big and powerful that any kind of undiscovered primate walking these lands isn't even a part of it anymore. So it's
I
oddly,
understand where you're coming. I
Bigfoot's
understand
been
what you're
kicked.
saying there. Yeah.
The actual idea of an undiscovered primate's sort of been kicked out of the discussion, because I mean, now you got Bigfoot showing up to conferences, literally. Hey, we put on a Bigfoot conference in the woods, and Bigfoot showed up because we heard whoops and knocks, so Bigfoot was there. They showed up to a fucking conference. Like, what? Get the fuck out of here! Shut up.
Cowboy says, so all the channels are just making up nonsense for people and clicks and views.
Yeah, because it feels good. It's content.
A lot
Not
of them.
all of them. Not all of them.
Not all of them, but a lot.
Again, generally speaking.
Yeah,
right?
good majority.
We're
of
saying
them.
generally speaking. So whatever
That's
you
true.
got.
There's already thousands of podcasts out there now related to Bigfoot.
Absolutely.
So it's not just a
covered.
anymore.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, people are hungry for it and they love it, and they have a lot of fun with it.
There you go.
Everybody
It's cool to be in Bigfoot.
Yeah, I mean,
cool to be into Bigfoot.
That's the shit I'm talking about, and that's what makes it so easy to kind of get away with anything. If people are hungry for it, then it's easy to feed them. It's all too easy. I thought about starting just to prove the point, starting a dummy channel, either with a person or something, or maybe a fake AI voice or whatever, dude, and do all the same shit just to show, and then pull the rug out from everybody and go, it's all bullshit. I made all of it up,
Psych.
Yeah. But I don't have the time for that either. So I don't have the time to invest to attend, these things anymore. I mean, I'm here right now because Nikki's my friend and we're all friends and we talk, and I'm not afraid to shake the trees every now and then. So
well, Brent went and used AI to create a whole story, didn't he? And he posted that.
And
he's like, the whole thing was made up by AI.
It was okay, but I mean, I said, like, I mean, a lot of people are very imaginative. I mean, like we're humans, we're storytellers, like we've always been. Like we create wonderful works of fiction. We're really good at it. So the idea that well, people can't just make this stuff up, of course they can.
Can.
You know,
They absolutely
like
can.
yeah. I mean, have you read a good book lately? Like, get the fuck out of here, man. You ever heard of Stephen King?
Yeah.
Like Jesus Christ!
Oh,
Of course, people can make shit up. Fiction is it's within us.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And this
Yeah.
subject is rife with that.
It is.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, I hate that there. You know, so like people think I'm like a totalitarian with this shit. I'm not, or a teetotaler. It's like there are truths. There are these sprinkles of truths mixed in, and at this point, it's just gotten impossible virtually to separate those things, and that's sad
Yeah.
because that one person that's out there is like, no, man, like I was on the trail, I fucking saw this thing, and we stared at each other for 20, like, okay, like that sprinkle of truth's in there, and I don't know what that is.
Right.
And but at this point, you just can't separate it from the like, oh man, I heard a whoop
Yeah, it's
last night,
tough.
and you know, Bigfoot, you know, hey, we had a Bigfoot get together and Bigfoot showed up and it's fucking
You know,
goddamn
It drives you nuts.
and the green swamp.
AI with the deep fakes, they're all going to make this problem way, way even worse. You know,
It is. It's already starting to
it's gonna
happen.
be
I
50%
agree.
worse.
I agree.
And
I've found
For-
a way to kind of hit it in the middle in some instances, you know, and somebody puts out a video and, you know, they're not making any, you know, claims that it is Bigfoot or, you know, they're just going over what it is that they're doing and they're hoping that they're going to be able to capture some trail cam video or catch them on audio or whatever be it, you know, just say, you know, keep up the good work, you know, but, I don't let it get to me too much anymore. I try to cherry pick any little bit of information that I pick up to
Just have fun with it, man. Like,
yeah, try to match it up to anything that I know that would have
mean,
any importance to it.
good luck with all that.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So he brought up Relic Hominid brought the Albert Ostman story, which has been debunked, and not a lot of people know that. The Albert Ostman was lying about that, and that's pretty much been proven at this point. I can't remember the guy's name. He's friends with Thomas. This dude that debunked the Albert Ostman story, he's friends with Thomas Steenberg, Nikki.
Okay.
who was it?
I can't remember his name. It escapes me. He was actually on Cliff and Bobo's show, and he debunked it to them, and they had no pushback for it, so they didn't make excuses. But it all had to do with this guy truly investigated like Albert Ostman, and he talked to the family, and he looked at records and saw that, you know, in this time period that Albert Ostman said he'd never been to this place, and in that time period he was someplace else.
Is his name John Kirk?
I don't know. I can't remember his name, so it's not coming to me. Maybe so.
Relic Hominoids. Scott Prescott is going to spill the beans on Osmond too.
Yeah, so it's already been debunked, and so there you go. Like, so there's a great example of this part of the narrative that almost everyone in Bigfoot, like, they love that story. It's almost like your introduction to the Bigfoot world. Hey, welcome to the Bigfoot world. Here's your complimentary Albert Ostman story. You know,
they latch onto it and share it with others, and it runs off like a bad virus.
Yeah, and
well, that because it's so outrageous, you know, so out.
It is really. I mean, I was even the first time I heard it,
Yeah.
I was just like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
you know, I'm like, what would be the purpose of? I mean, if it was a woman, then I would be thinking, okay, maybe they're dragging this chick up into the woods for breeding purposes. But be it man. I'm like, why would you drag this dude all the way up into the
Right, that's-
mountains and throw him in your cave just to
It's
hang
kinda-
out for a bit? Like, what the
kinda
hell?
It's kind of
I mean,
backwards,
what's the
right?
thing?
Yeah. But it's a great story. Like it really is.
Oh yeah.
To listen to that story, and if
Didn't the
listen,
guy go?
you know, it's
He
actually
was
a really
interrogated
entertaining
too. He went.
story.
Did he take a lie detector? Or did he even have such a thing
I
back
don't
then? He was
know.
like, he went through some.
No,
Oh, he had to sign
he
some paperwork. He had to
yeah, like
sign paperwork
signed an
saying that he was
affidavit or
telling the
whatever,
truth.
right?
Yeah,
Like
and he
something
signed
that could
that.
never obviously something that could never ever be challenged. You know what I mean? So who cares, right? It's like, yeah, I'll
Just
sign
figured
that.
if he signed the paper, it was
You know,
set in stone.
yeah, I saw a purple dragon last night. Proof that I didn't, right? You know. So but yeah, but it's a great story. It's entertaining, especially if the right narrator, right? The right narrator is telling the story. Like Bob Gimlin, I think, I think Bob Gimlin probably did Albert Awesome. I think probably has 5 million views, right? It's a great story.
Right on,
Um,
Graz. Yeah, I think
so-
Grasshopper just said John Kirk debunked it years ago. He's in BC, old friend of mine. Used to host the OBC. There it is.
Okay.
Right
So
on.
that's the dude. So again, that's a perfect example of, and you know that 99.9% of the Bigfoot world probably thinks that the Albert Osman story is true. They haven't even heard that there's any kind of pushback on it, right? Or
Right.
that it's been debunked. And people are just gonna want to say, oh no, it's because it's more fun to think it's true.
Well, the debunkers and the truth seekers are a minority, a very small minority. And so when you're coming into this subject, you're in an ocean of information that's mostly all false.
Entertainment.
It takes quite some time before you come across Nikki's show or Steve Calls doing a skit on busting somebody that's hoaxing, it takes some time before you finally come across it. And does it even grab your attention? It's not as fun to, listen to somebody providing you the information and laying down the receipts that this holy grail that you've been believing in and loving so much is not really the truth. You're apt to just click on through that and head for the next greatest story because you're getting off on, wow, look at that. There's another Bigfoot. Wow, wow.
Talk things people want to talk about. That's what I always say. Yeah. That's why I keep around, because my content isn't like an encounter stuff. My content is different. It's if you want to hear
let's scrutinize this and see if it's really the truth.
You come here and I'll give you those options. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying I'm wrong. It's just what I've found. And then you can make up your decision. But through all of this, how are we going to spot, let's call it bad science? Okay. How do we spot that? How can people out there steer away from channels or people, investigators, researchers, and move on? You don't have to dislike them. You can just move on. And because there are so many out there in the field now, you have a wide variety of choices. Some use sensationalized headlines. Some may even misinterpret their data, their results, to make it seem like they were really in an area where Bigfoot is. Maybe they're sensationalized the audios, or the grabbers, they will send out 15 shorts about, their weekend excursion.
Well, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. I mean, these people that you're saying, how do we get these individuals to take the right path? Well, they need the tools to even recognize the right path. And that doesn't happen just by one video. It doesn't happen overnight. it takes time for them to even be able to recognize right from wrong. And it's so much easier to just believe and run with the exciting crowd than it is to, it takes a specific personality to stop for a second and think for yourself, wait a minute, is there any truth to this? That sounds a little bit fishy. And those personalities may take the path and end up a regular on your show, Nikki. But as they're far and few between, the people that can actually rationalize what's being delivered to them and the information they're absorbing and think for themselves and not just believe everything. They're just far and few between. Obviously, the majority are fine with, being part of the bigger crowd.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you how to spot bad signs when it comes to Bigfoot. It's pretty simple. If it's only on YouTube and it's Bigfoot related, it's bad signs. Like, that's the easiest way. Oh shit, this is only on YouTube and it's Bigfoot related. That's bad signs. So
right.
It's that simple. It's that, and I'm sorry if that one person slips through the cracks and is actually telling the truth. I apologize to that person, whoever you are. It's not my fault that the narrative is so big and huge and echo chambery and scary that
I think you need to refine that to the Bigfoot community, the Bigfoot community's portion of YouTube, because you do find good scientific work on YouTube if that's what you're searching for outside of Bigfoot.
No, that's what I said. I did qualify it to Bigfoot only stuff. Yeah. So that's how you spot bad science. If it's on YouTube and no place else and it's about Bigfoot, that's bad science. Yeah. That's a bad understanding of the world. Is exactly what that is. So that's the way I see it. I call balls and strikes like I see them, man. I got no agenda here. I'm not here to be contrarian. I'm not here to pick on anybody. I don't do that. I don't pick on people. And I don't. So I'm just here to. I'm only in search of the truth. That's it. So I call balls and strikes like
sponsor the $10 billion Bigfoot challenge?
I don't have to sponsor it. It's there. The money's already on the table. It's not my money. It's just there. It's waiting for the person who discovers Bigfoot. It's gonna be worth tens of millions at least. So I call it 10 billion. So I'm stretching it out there. I'm going from Mars. I land on the moon is fine, right?
100 Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I think you need 120 now.
Right.
Falling off.
Right. So the money's on the table. So if you got Bigfoot on your property and you have a research area and you just know they're there, dude, you can invest $4,000 and make 4 million. Probably more, 40 million. Every production company in the world is going to be tugging on your shirt. I mean, that right there is worth millions. So
now, what if these Sasquatch travel 20, 30 miles in the period of a day and a half? And what if their radius of dwelling is 350, 400 miles, in that circle? And I'm not even saying it's a circle. Maybe they go in a straight line all the way from East Coast to West Coast in a summer's time. If I know. But I mean, if somebody says I got them, well, I guess if they're telling you they have them on your property and they're here all the time,
it's daily occurrence.
Yeah, right. But I mean, if somebody did get a hold of you because they're like, hey, listen, I'm not bullshitting you. I just watched 2 Sasquatch at 2:00 in the morning walk across me in front of me on this road. They went out into the field. I can take you. The tracks are there. And you grab your drone, head out there, start, see if you can get a thermal video of these things. But What if they keep right on going and they're 15,
sure.
20 miles away by the time you get there?
I'm
That
just
makes it tough.
yeah. I'm just talking about the people that are like constantly spewing. They know
Yeah,
know
I
where
know.
they know where Bigfoot is. So I'll just give you my parameters. I can easily search a 10 square mile area in one
10
night.
square. Okay.
Yeah, in one night,
Mhm.
easily. And so, if you threw multiple drones and multiple pilots into that situation, depending on location, and maybe some other factors, terrain, elevation, things like that, there are factors. But if you threw more pilots, and you could easily expand that into like maybe even possibly a 40 square mile area.
Right on.
And what I'm telling you is, if Bigfoot's there, these guys will find him. They'll see him. They're impossible. Impossible to not spot. They're professionals. They know what they're doing. They look for lost kids in the woods. They look for
Right.
lost. They look for lost puppies in the woods. They know the difference between a rat and a squirrel at night
Sure.
on a thermal.
Yeah.
And so, like from a quarter mile away. Okay.
Right on.
So these guys can find shit. Of course, a 8 foot tall, 800 pound, whatever, like
Should stand out pretty good.
that's easiest thing to spot in the woods.
Yeah.
The easiest. It might as well be a car with its fucking high beams on. Like, hey, look
Right
at me.
on.
And I'm talking from 2 miles away. So
I
yeah.
remember when I first got into this, I had this, I don't know, you call it a theory or whatever. It was just something that I had thought. But, as big and strong as these things are supposed to be, what if they, like up in the Adirondacks up in here, when I walk around in the woods, there's these great big humongous rocks. Some of them, hell, are half the size of a house. They're drawn out by the glaciers and
The glaciers,
finally
yeah.
fell in
Mhm.
place, and
Yeah.
they've been there forever and a day. I wonder, depending on the size, I'm not saying that half the size of a house, but I had always thought to myself, as strong as they are, if they did travel around with 3, 4, 5 of them at a rip or whatever, I wonder if they could push, if they had certain areas where they could push that rock up into the air and they had dug down in there and had a place where they could hide down. What do you think the
Well, I mean, it's possible, right?
probability of that would be?
I mean, it's I don't. I mean, it's physically possible if you're talking about a primate of a certain kind of strength, and you want to say there's 3 or 4 of them, like taking a pretty big rock and like leveraging it up in the air. Yeah, I mean,
Get 2 of
human
them that can
beings,
pick it up,
like
and
4
then 3,
dudes,
4 get down there and hide, but then you still need a couple of them outside the
4.
rock to let the rock back down, right?
I mean,
Maybe.
4 strong men could flip over a car.
I'm just trying to think,
Yeah.
how could they hide on you? What if they die? What if they get head right for the water and get underwater? Can you still see them with that? You can't see them with the thermal underwater, or do you have that tech?
Yes, absolutely. The thermal could be able to follow them underwater, so that's where you'd switch back to thermal and just keep tracking them.
Underwater?
Yeah, sure, because they have a heat. So the water's cold and they're hot. They're warm. If they reach the temperature of the water, they'd be dead.
All right, explain this one to me, not contradicting anything you're saying. I'm on the edge of a swamp. I have a little situation with these coyotes. I wasn't paying attention to it when it was all happening. It was afterwards watching the video. I've got one of the cheaper $600, I think it was a TK. It's a FLIR. I think it's a TK Scout. And
Right.
I'm on black hot, and I've got a coyote running right across from me. There's a little bay that separates me from the coyote, and this coyote's running along the shoreline, maybe back off 8-10 feet. And later on, when I watched the video, I'm watching the reflection of this coyote's heat signature in the water, trying to figure out, why am I seeing, if I'm looking at that 2-dimensionally, here it is, right there's, looking at the square, and the thermal is reading heat. Why was it reading or showing me a picture of the coyote upside down as a mirrored image running along, showing me that in the water? How did it?
That's just the nature of IR. is that it will register reflections.
Huh.
Yeah. There's a interesting video, a couple of guys, I won't say who they are, who thought that they were looking at a bunch of Bigfoots across a bridge that was closed, and they were just looking at their own reflection in the signs of the bridge closed,
Right on.
like the reflective signs.
Yeah.
And
Because I
that was
can't see through
yeah,
glass.
that was in IR. Yeah.
Okay.
So IR does have anomalies like that. It can happen. Yeah.
Thank you, Jay. Jay gifted 10 memberships, and
There
I
you go, Jay.
gifted 5. And I'm gonna see if I could do another 5. If it'll let me. Let's see.
I gotta try to remember to do that tonight. I've been meaning to get signed back up on there as a member with your channel. It's horrible.
Oh,
my God. I gotta make sure I try to do that tonight.
It let me do another 5. So
Pat, if you can ever get that information, like I want to know the actual physics to that. I look for it, and I haven't looked really hard, but I really want to know the physics of that. Why? Okay, so a while back ago, somebody was talking about a thermal camera. I went online and was trying to read up how they actually work, and the understanding is that they weren't necessarily it wasn't necessarily reading the actual heat. Like say like there's thousands of little sensors, but they're sending this energy out.
Yeah.
And what was being read was the reaction that was happening when the sensor hit the object. It wasn't actually like it stuck a thermometer in it and it was reading the temperature.
Right. Well, there's different kinds of thermal infrared cameras. Some are more advanced than others. There are cameras that can read temperature data at a distance and tell you, guys go look for deer and stuff like that, injured deer, and like they can read the body temperature. They can read the surface temperature, not the body temperature. Sorry, the surface temperature. And so that does exist. And some of that, like, it's complicated shit. Like, I'm not a thermal expert by any means.
So, like, Trackway just said, water reflects thermal like glass. So, Trackway, do you mean that the heat from the animal that is above water on the ground across the bay, its heat is reflecting off the water?
It's just the image
and coming back to my camera. The heat itself,
somehow that information is being reflective. I hear you. I know what you're saying, Johnathan. Again, I'm not an expert on like how that technology works specifically. I just know that it's amazing technology. So
yeah, right on.
Yeah. Yes. So FLIR, the shit that FLIR's working on right now, brother, won't hit our hands for another 10 years.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah, it'll be in the military before it comes to us.
When I first got into this, I remember watching I don't know if it was a video or if it was actually on TV, but it was the Coast Guard who was sent out to look for some lost hunters. They were up in Alaska. They had that helicopter and they had a long range thermal, top of the line for them at that time.
Right.
And it had to have been a Bigfoot channel or a Bigfoot show, because they were discussing the fact that this wasn't the first time this happens. They can tell the difference between a bedded elk and this animal and that animal. And when they see a full signature of a bipedal figure up in the mountains where it's 30, 40 below and 3 foot of snow, and it's not their target because the signature has a solid signature, like it's not wearing clothes, they know that there's no human standing out there naked, that it's one of these things. And they actually had, or they said on the show, that there was an actual code that they speak. It's a whatever. And then that's the end of it. They move on to the next thing. And that it, that they had seen them, I don't want to say on a regular basis, but they were privy to the whole situation of the fact that they see these things. And anybody should be able to look that up. It wasn't some private video. It might even have been on like the History Channel or something. It might have been on TV, but I'm pretty sure I saw it on YouTube.
Yeah.
It should be readily available. I just can't speak specifics, but I definitely watched it.
Yeah.
So,
well, just so everybody knows, when if we were filming them from the air, it would be in 4K with spotlight. It wouldn't be in thermal. Thermal's for finding them, and then we switch over to boop. We light them up in the spotlight, and we're in 4K footage, and it's all like that quality. It's not thermal imaging at that point anymore. Thermal's for finding. The rest of it's for filming. So these are advanced drones. They have 4 cameras on them, 200 times zoom. They go 50 miles an hour. That's why we would be able to film a Bigfoot for hours.
That's interesting, Jeff.
Well, that's how it works. So,
right on.
But
back when I was a hoodlum, I used to grow some plants in a room, and they had this stuff called orca paper, and you were supposed to put that on your walls so that the cops couldn't fly over top and realize that your room was hotter than hell.
Mm-hmm.
And they used to sell that orca paper in these like grow shops where you go in and get your paraphernalia to do your thing, depending on what you like to grow. I don't do that shit no more, but this orca paper sounds like a similar product that Jeff had just mentioned, a foil blanket.
Well, if you want to film a Bigfoot, a good way to find them is on therm, and then you switch over to, again, powerful spotlights. You're in the air. They can't do anything about it, man. They're trapped at that point. And
imagine if you had a mosquito drone and you had your AI, everything all programmed, and you have that mounted on your thermal camera, ready to go. Okay. And this thing, say it has like almost like a mosquito needle nose that's going to grab DNA like a dart, fast, wicked fast. Okay.
That's actually very doable.
Catch that thing on that thermal camera. And then once you lock on that, almost like the guys used to do with the laser guided missiles, once you lock on that figure and got a lock, hit the trigger, and that little mosquito drone takes off at Mach 90 and drives right into that Bigfoot and just stabs it, grabs DNA, and takes off up into the sky. That would be badass. Somebody ought to invent that.
I mean, it could just drop to the ground. It didn't even need to take off.
Well, you could fly right through it.
It's not like the Bigfoot. What is the Bigfoot going to reach out and pick it up? I mean, no.
I don't know. Just
was a pretty sure they wouldn't. Yeah. So that's actually doable. Like what you just described sounds like sort of idealistic and fanciful, but it's not. Like everything you just said is actually pretty doable right now. Pretty doable. So welcome to 2025, Bigfooters.
Yeah, right on.
If you want to discover these things, the tools they're all there. They're all there to do it. Do you want to be a multimillionaire? Oh, no, I don't. I'm not in it for the money, man.
Right.
It's all the excuses start flying. But reality says otherwise. So I got to go. It's starting to rain and it's my bedtime. So.
Oh, thanks for being here, Pat. It's good hanging out with you.
Appreciate the
yeah, thanks for having me on, and I hope this was a good show for you. So
yeah, thank you very much. Anybody have any last questions out there in the chat? Now's the time to put them in there. Pat's going to be taking off here. We have about 8 minutes left, and it was great to have him on. I found the most accurate conversion is in the white hot mode, not color. White hot. I like I like the white hot too.
I like the black hot. I'm really privy to that, but I do use the white hot. All depends on the atmosphere.
No, like I use it very often. I've only touched tracks and
I love that thermal. It's been, yeah, I
my
love it. I need a new one.
my issue is that I don't go out enough to warrant the price right now. You know, if I went out more often or on weekends, then yeah, I might invest in that. But
I'll
I
send
don't.
that FLIR TK Scout out. I need to send mine. I need to do that. I need to do that tomorrow. I need to call them, ask them if I can send both these FLIRs out to them and ask them to just refurbish them, recalibrate them, do everything that needs to be done, and then send them back to me. I'll give you that TK Scout. I'll give it to you.
Oh, wow.
Well, absolutely, I'll give it to you. I just it's a great entry level thermal camera. It's excellent to get started, but once you get up to a point where you're starting to understand it and you get a hold of a piece that has a better sensor in it, then you're going to want a better sensor. It's
you want
clear, much more clear, but it's a great entry level thermal. You'll really enjoy it. It's yours. I will get that thing refurbished if they will allow me to do so, or because see what I screwed up with is when I first got it, I never registered it. So when the firmware things came in, you know, I can't, it won't allow me to update the firmware. And I'm not technically savvy enough to do it myself if there is such an ability to do so. So I do. I just need to get a hold of FLIR and ask them, whatever you got to charge me, I just want to send it to you, fix it up, send it back here so it works well.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. They probably do. I don't know. I don't know about that stuff.
Yeah.
For sure. Hey, Kaiju. Have you been here the whole time? Or did you just sneak in? Did you forget to set your clock forward? You know, come on.
My daughter just told me on the way home that she saw a video how the time change happens. So I want to run that by everybody if this is reality, which I'm not calling her a liar, but she said that the girl that video screen recorded it happening, that it actually waited until it was either 12:59 or 1:59. It didn't happen at midnight. It waited till like an hour later, and then it just went right to 3 o'clock. Has anybody ever watched the world clock on your phone to see how that time change happens?
And it never happens because you do assume that it happens at your midnight, you know?
Right.
But the actual time change is not the right thing. It's not.
And it happens different in every time zone.
Yeah. Because I didn't know if it took place because now everything's hooked to the internet that, you know, my Fitbit, my phone, and my Google system on my counter, my bed table, everything changed automatically, you know.
Yeah.
Then my clock up there is solar, or what do you call it? Automatic clock. I just have to change the big one behind me still. And that's the only reason I knew that it had changed because that one went off. Right. But everything now, the microwave didn't change. I had to change the microwave this morning.
Yeah, that reminds me, I better go hit the stove too. I rely on that one quite a bit out in the kitchen.
Change happens at 2 a.m. either way. Oh.
Okay. And what happens? I mean, at 2 a.m., it just zips right straight to 3 a.m. So that falls in suit with what Camille said. That is what she said. At 1:59, when it clicked to go to 2, it went right to 3. That's how she explained it to me. Interesting.
Yep. How do you feel? You want to get rid of the time change?
Goodbye. Yep. I don't want it no more. I don't want to get messed with anymore. I'm fine with, just keep the normal.
I'm one of those on the other side. I don't mind it. I love in the wintertime setting the clock back an hour.
The fall. I don't mind the fall. Yeah, when it falls back, but this one in the spring right here, that messes with me.
I mess with you.
Said earlier today, he actually liked it, and gave him the ability to do what he was doing in the daylight. So I guess when it gets right down to it, when the data comes in, as they were talking about it in the government, are we going to abolish this or not? What was that? Just a couple years ago, they were talking about getting rid of it. So they must have ran the numbers, and more people are, want to keep it than don't. So guess it's staying. Too bad, Johnny boy.
Like some reservations here in the Southwest don't do it either.
I thought it was just for the farmers,
originally, yeah.
And I was thinking they got tech now. You aren't going out there to milk the cows with a kerosene lantern.
Yeah.
What do you need to worry about whether it's daylight?
I don't know. It never bothers me, and now that everything changes on its own, it doesn't bother me even more. So,
well, tomorrow morning it's going to feel like we're getting on the bus at 5:30 in the morning instead of 6:30. I know that.
My daughter's on spring break right now, so
nice.
Yeah, me sleep. Well, I can't ever sleep in. My dog wakes me up at 7. We'll see tomorrow. I'm going to see if she wakes me up at 7 or 8. I don't know.
Nikki, I'm going to bounce out so you can close up, huh?
All right. Thank you for coming, Johnathan. I appreciate it. It was a long time having you.
Yeah.
So
we had a great time.
You're always welcome here to have a discussion. Thank you.
On. God bless you. Everybody have a good night. Take care.
Bye, Johnathan. And you can find Johnathan's channel listed down in the description below, along with Pat's. If you guys want to check out their channel, you are more than welcome to do that. So no show going to Squatch TV. Jen just said a little while ago that he's not doing a show tonight. So sorry for that. But please, if you would, before you leave, hit that like button down below for me. Really makes a difference. And share it around if you like my content. I appreciate it. I totally do. And that's it. That's the show. Thank you guys for coming and hanging out on this Sunday. And we'll see you in the next chat.